Recognize him.
First, I want to begin by saying that we're all saddened by the terrible shooting in Boulder, Colorado yesterday. Like so many Americans, I'm praying for the victims of this crime, especially for the family of Officer Eric Talley. I gather Mr. Talley left his work as an information technology professor at the age of 40 after a friend died in a DUI crash because he wanted to serve the public. He leaves behind a wife and 7 children. So we offer the deepest condolences to them and their entire family and community. He adds his name to the list of too many officers who have given their life in the line of duty, especially over the last few years. This is a hearing on gun violence, and it's true that gun violence has increased, especially over this past year. In fact, all types of violence have gone up. Murders are up more than 20% in the last year alone, a single-year increase not seen in modern history. And murders have reached totals nationwide not seen since the 1990s. Now, our friends on the left always want to go straight to gun control as the solution for reducing this problem of violence. Before we start looking at controlling the rights of law-abiding citizens and regulating their guns and even setting the grounds to confiscate their guns, why don't we look at why this violence has increased to begin with? Notably, there has been extended, systematic attacks on our police and law enforcement professionals for years, calling them racist and bigoted and prejudiced, demanding that they be defunded and replaced with social workers. When you condemn the police, when you make it harder to do their job, you shouldn't be surprised that criminals take advantage of the opportunities that follow, and that crime rises, and that in particular, violent crime rises. Likewise, some on the left like to complain about mass incarceration, as if there are too many people locked up in our prisons when more than half of all violent crimes don't even result in an arrest, much less a prosecution or a conviction. Let me tell you a story about Hassan Elliott in Philadelphia, who's a member of the 1700 gang that's responsible for many mass murders. In June of 2017, he was arrested on a firearms charge after threatening a neighbor with a gun. Despite the criminal record, he only received 7 months in jail. He then violated his parole, he failed drug tests, he was arrested with cocaine, yet he was not sent back to jail. And a few months later, he allegedly murdered someone with a gun when he should have been in jail. Later, he also murdered a police officer. All of this was preventable if prosecutors had simply followed the law and supported their local police and locked up Mr. Elliott, as they should lock up so many other violent felons across the country. So what should we do to reduce gun violence? The solution is simple. We should support our police, we should enforce our laws, and we should, yes, lock up criminals. What we should never do is create new, vague laws to restrict the constitutional rights of law-abiding gun owners. All of these new restrictions fail to stop criminals from breaking the law, but they do result in liability for Arkansans and Americans who responsibly own guns to protect themselves from the same criminals that are getting away without real jail time to commit crimes against innocent civilians when they should be locked away. Mr. Chang, it is well known that minority communities are disproportionately the victims of these violent crimes, including gun homicides. If bills like these 2 House-passed gun control measures were to pass, which group would suffer more? Criminals who are trying to get guns, often through illegal means, with which to commit crimes, or law-abiding citizens, especially minorities, who would like to purchase guns for self-defense?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. The group that would surely suffer the most at the hands of gun control bills would be minorities who need to defend themselves and the ones that want to purchase a firearm for self-defense. And I'd like to share a story about what's been happening in my hometown of San Francisco. We've had multiple attacks on not just Asian Americans, but some of the most vile, disgusting attacks that have been happening to the elderly Asian Americans. And they have been kicked and pushed and hit from behind, and some have succumbed to their injuries. And to your point, we have a district attorney who is somehow trying to rationalize a murder by saying things like the criminal had a temper tantrum. I don't understand how our district attorney and the Oakland police chief right across the bay, who says that we shouldn't defend ourselves, that we should just be good witnesses. Well, you can't be a good witness when you're dead. And if the public does not have the confidence in the law enforcement machine that has the power to arrest, convict, and jail criminals for their actions, then that causes even more distress and more of a problem in our society.
Thank you, Mr. Chang, and thank you for raising the problem of your George Soros-funded prosecuting attorney, one of many across the country who refuses to enforce the law and lock away violent criminals. It's a problem about which I'll be speaking more at length in the future.
Thank you, Senator Cotton. Senator Padilla.